Hey, I just want to give you a heads up. This guy we're about to have on is kind of controversial.
But when I learned that there was this tool where I could be sitting on the toilet and I could type, and somebody out in California and somebody down in Florida and somebody up in Canada was going to get so worked up.
And I remember thinking, man, is this the guy I want to have on the show?
That they were going to start to berate internet and just have a total loss of like logical what they're doing with their mind. I couldn't help but jump in.
I would just see the things that he really dialed up to 11.
Okay, what's the most extreme version of what I believe to be true? Let me tweet that. I'll just leave out a lot of nuance.
Have you ever tweeted something, watched it blow up, and gone, maybe that was too much?
Yeah.
He's got haters.
I've never met a mentally stable person who has purple hair. That makes a lot of people very angry.
Is he legit?
What you'll notice about my Twitter is there's a lot of true facts that I made up.
Is he one of these guru online types that just so irritate me?
I mean, it's how you end up with purple hair, an Emerson degree, $350,000 in student loan debt, and being a Starbucks barista.
You know, I think we ought to ask him about it.
Could you delve into what prompted this tweet?
I love to get people riled up.
And Timmy's eyes lit up.
Timmy, you might be the same way.
Yeah. Here's a new segment that we're going to try with you called Defend That Tweet.
Okay, let's do it.
So, okay, great. From October of 2020.
October 2020, oh boy. My favorite now is just to tweet something that I know is going to get people riled up and just mute it and know that you're riling people up and you're not thinking about them at all.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. HOA fees are great. They keep your neighbors from painting their house bright purple and parking a boat on the lawn.
Now, you do seem to have an issue with the color purple, I'm seeing. What is this thing with purple?
My following accelerated my career 50 years or more, but it has been very dark at times. My dad called me like, Nick, you got to stop doing that. So where are the dumb people making good money? What can we do where we're competing against people who aren't that smart and the majority of them win?
Huh.
And it didn't take us long to realize we needed to build a self-storage facility.
Self-storage.
He just called our dad dumb.
Half of Twitter says he's changing the game. The other half says he is the game, and they hate games. Today's guest built a $150 million self-storage empire, started a dozen companies, and tweets business advice that makes people rich and really, really mad.
If you're new to commercial real estate investing, you probably know the feeling. Brokers, underwriting, raising capital, where do you even begin? And that's why CRE Investor Coach exists, to give new and emerging investors a clear step-by-step path to closing their first deal. I believe in this program so much, I actually joined the team as an adjunct faculty member. That's how committed I am to helping more people get into the space right now. Whether you want to go at your own pace with on-demand training, launch your first investment with expert coaching, or scale with a mastermind of other ambitious investors, there's a roadmap here for you. Inside, you'll learn how to define your investor identity, analyze deals with confidence, talk to brokers like a pro, raise capital, and build a real acquisition pipeline without all the guesswork. This is about building a business that blesses your life, not breaks your spirit. So if you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and actually get in the game, check out the link in the show notes and start your journey today. Learn, launch, and scale with CRE Investor Coach.
Welcome to Commercially Speaking, the only commercial real estate podcast where a former Marine Arabic linguist turned real estate mogul tries to teach commercial real estate to a left-handed theater kid.
I'm Bill Barron, CCIM instructor, owner-director of the Barron Commercial Group, co-founder of the Hearthstone Fund, and apparently the only person with the patience to teach my little brother how to underwrite a deal.
And I'm Timmy Barron, ADHD, actor, comedian, and co-founder of the underground sport that's swiping tennis courts everywhere, Tisby. All disc, no balls! I started the show knowing nothing about commercial real estate. Now we're over 100 episodes in, and I can confidently say I'm still confused.
Every week we break down how to invest, broker, and build a business in commercial real estate with zero fluff, and one mandatory pop quiz at the end to see if Timmy was paying attention.
So if you haven't yet subscribed on YouTube or left a view on Apple Podcasts, tell us why in the comments. Help us grow the show so we can finally book my dream guest, Barbara Corcoran. Before we introduce our guest, Bo, you got some really cool CCIM CCIM classes coming up, right?
I do. And so real quickly, I just want to mention I'm teaching 3 102 courses this fall. The first is going to be in Louisville, Kentucky, September 8th through 11th. And the thing I'm really excited about with this one is it's going to be in Angel's Envy Distillery. And so all 4 days in the distillery.
That's awesome.
Tuesday evening, we're having a networking event with the local chapter and other real estate professionals. There will be a tour. So if you've ever wanted to take a course on market analysis for commercial real estate, like this is your chance to have a uniquely Kentucky experience in an actual distillery. And I've taken the tour. I've been there on a number of occasions. It is an incredible venue.
That's amazing. I know a lot of people are retaking it just because it's there.
Yeah. We got designees from across the country that are going to come take it again for
great.
the refresher and to have the bourbon experience.
I want to go.
Then the next 2 weeks after that, September 22nd through 25th, I'm teaching in Missoula, Montana. And so if you want to come up there and go fly fishing with my daughter and I after it's over, I'd invite you to do that. Actually, that's going to be a special trip with me and my daughter. You're not invited to go.
He's holding up bourbon.
Yeah, I got some Angel's Envy right there.
Oh,
perfect.
fantastic.
So that's Missoula, Montana. And then in October 20 through the 23rd, if you want to take 102 in Miami, Florida, you can join us down there.
Oh.
And so yeah, that's the second half of the year lineup. I'm excited about those classes.
All right. Well, let's jump into it.
Timmy, you drink coffee faster than I drink energy drinks.
Oh, man. I just sucked it right down. You're exactly right. Who is that talking? Well, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's find out.
Okay. Half of Twitter says he's changing the game. The other half says he is the game, and they hate games. Today's guest built a $150 million self-storage empire, started a dozen companies, and tweets business advice that makes people rich and really, really mad. Born in small-town Indiana, trained at Cornell, ever heard of it? And raised in the sweaty startup trenches, Nick turned moving boxes into a real estate empire, runs a private equity firm, and casually started like 10 other companies. Now he's a loud voice for boring businesses, blue-collar hustle, and the kind of blunt advice that gets him both followers and haters by the thousands. Love him or hate him, you can't ignore him, and after today, you won't want to. He's smart, he's bold, and he made it out of Indiana, which already puts him in the 1%. You know, Bo, Indiana's known for 2 things, basketball and bad decisions.
And Nick clearly made the right one. He left.
Exactly. Now he owns more self-storage than most people own self-awareness.
I feel like when we post about this episode on Twitter, half the replies will just be, Nick Huber is a menace.
Yep, and the other half will ask him for a loan.
Well, let's get him in here before he buys this podcast. Nick Huber, everybody.
Nick Huber!
Guys,
Welcome to Commercially Speaking.
I have an embarrassing story about Owensboro, Kentucky. I grew up 40 minutes from there in Tell City, Indiana.
Yep.
And so on Frederica Parkway, there's an Applebee's, and I took my junior prom date to that freaking Applebee's.
All right.
I am still embarrassed to this day that I sat at an Applebee's table with a lady in a dress.
That Applebee's was your choice. I wouldn't expect any more from Indiana.
When you grow up in Tell City.
Took me a while to figure out this world.
Before we go in, Nick, will you just give us like a 5-minute origin story of like where you grew up and what led you to here?
I'll give you a 45-second. Try to do you one better. Perfect. I grew up in Tell City, ran track and field, went to Cornell University in Ithaca to run track. I got in because I could run. Started a moving and storage company called Storage Squad while I was a junior. Built my first self-storage facility from the ground up in Ithaca, New York, where Cornell is. Started in 2015, got it in 2017, finished. And then, started raising money and buying more storage. 2021, we bought a lot of storage, kind of started to grow the real estate private equity company. Early that year, we sold Storage Squad, rebranded to Bolt Storage. And now I'm an entrepreneur, opportunist, author, a lot of different things, but I live in Athens, Georgia with my wife and 3 kids.
And you've got a new book called The Sweaty Startup, which I read over the weekend. And I got to say, man, I was pleasantly surprised. A lot of times when people I know actually write a book, it's like, okay, this is really good.
Yeah.
And I've got a ton of questions. Like you gave us all kinds of raw material. But like one of the first things I was thinking about, you talk about in the book, this idea of low risk, moderate reward opportunities. So like in a very competitive landscape, how does an aspiring sweaty startup find these genuinely overlooked opportunities. Like you talk a lot in the book about boring, sweaty jobs. And it occurred to me as I was reading this, like you have, the self-storage business, I don't know, have like 46 properties or something like this, like a big deal, but it doesn't really seem like you're a real estate guy. Like you're a business guy. You're an entrepreneur who happens to have, a real estate associated business. But like, how does somebody, if they're sitting here listening to this and they're like, man, I've got this entrepreneurial itch, this idea of taking a swing in a game that I can potentially win. He has this analogy where, would you rather play basketball against a 5th grade girl? Not my daughter. She's pretty good, but, or LeBron James. Like,
right.
Which one gives you the better odds of actually winning?
Oh yeah. Well, that's a different question.
And so if somebody's sitting here thinking, man, that makes a lot of sense. Like I want to find something that is potentially boring business-wise. It's sweaty. I'm willing to put the work in. I'm willing to figure out how to do things better in a market that's maybe lagging behind with technology. Like, where do you look? How do you find something like that?
We are very blessed in the world of entrepreneurship to get to pick which game we play. Not every game is scored based on degree of difficulty. It's not an Olympic gymnastics routine. So you can get paid really well for jumping over 1-foot bars over and over again, as Warren Buffett says. So it was 2015. I was in a brutally hard business. I'm moving and storage company, seasonal. We did storage for students, and we had 200 plus part-time employees, warehouses in 14 locations. We were in 12 states, 25 major colleges. It was madness. Me and my partner looked at each other and said, man, this is not going to be the business that gets us to wealth. It's not going to be a business that's ever going to be passive for us. And it's not got the kind of scale we need to go do what we want to do. So where are the dumb people making good money? What can we do where we're competing against people who aren't that smart and the majority of them win? And it didn't take us long to realize we needed to build a self-storage facility.
Self-storage. What does that? What does that say to you? Yeah.
He just called our dad dumb. No, Nick, when I was 3 or 4 years old, my dad built his first self-storage facility. And the reason he did it was he was a home builder. And that's the business my granddaddy started. They built homes. And when you hit 1980-ish, interest rates were in the 20s. People stopped building, stopped buying. And he had a crew that he was trying to keep employed. And so he looked around and he found self-storage. And he started building it at a time where people didn't even know what it was. So like now people understand what self-storage is. Back then they didn't. Right. He had to educate the market and then lease it. And he got basically a first mover bonus. He was kind of first to the market in a lot of places. Yeah. And so I grew up in a self-storage family. Really?
Yeah, my jobs a lot of times, I wouldn't call it a job. My punishment a lot of times was to go and sweep the hallways of those things.
Yep.
My beef with all of entrepreneurship culture, and the reason why I wrote my book, is that you talk to any 18, 20, 25, even 30-year-old person who calls themselves an entrepreneur, and they are in the valley and they're looking up at mountains, these difficult, glorious mountains where only the gladiators, the 1 in a million, succeed, tech titans like Elon Musk and Steve Jobs. And they think, okay, I got to do that. I got to go change the world. I need a new invention. So I look at the media, who's all pushing one kind of entrepreneurship, and it's totally different from the reality of the people like your parents and you and me and the people doing boring things, common things uncommonly well. So yeah, I wrote a book about how to pick those opportunities, how to think about opportunity, how to lead people, how to out-operate somebody else.
I think that's great.
Hiring, sales, delegation, doing the little things in business that are really important, because it's not an idea that sets you apart. It's how you run your business. It's execution.
Yeah. I love the turn of phrase, common things done uncommonly well.
Yeah.
That can apply to, he talks about in the book, his first entrepreneurial gig was really mowing yards. Yeah. Mine was too. My dad had all these empty lots. He stuck me on a tractor. I was driving a tractor around town before I had my license. And, that's where I got my, this entrepreneurial bug. And
mine was throwing newspapers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. With Jay.
Yep.
Yep. Once you realize you can make, $10, $15, $20 an hour for yourself, and your friends are making $6 an hour at Subway, you realize really quick that, hey, I either love this and I'm all in and I'm going to go do this the rest of my life, or I'd rather have the job. And for me, I picked the life of an entrepreneur, which sometimes I'm envious of the other side for sure.
Yeah. You kind of push back in your book about this, and it's really a cultural idea we have in the United States, that follow your heart, follow your passion, all this stuff.
Man, it makes me angry.
When you started talking about this, I got goosebumps, because like that irritates me as well. Follow your heart is terrible advice. But what is it about?
Sorry, that made me think of, there was a time our little sister was going off to college. And so some of the teachers, mom invited friends, some of the teachers to come over, and her English teacher, each person gave her like a word of advice before she left. And the English teacher said, go out there. I want you to follow your heart. And then Bo was next. And Bo just,
I don't remember this at all, but I know where this is going.
You just tore her apart. You're like, I understand what she's saying, but that's awful advice. Don't follow your heart. And I remember just seeing Miss Payne there being like, what?
I probably need to go apologize to that lady.
That would have been so. Anyway,
I got kicked out of an entrepreneurship pitch competition for the fifth time, and now they stopped inviting me back because I can't stand, the new idea mentality of doing something to change the world and chase your passion and do what you're passionate about. But yeah, it's terrible advice. I mean, it's how you end up with purple hair, and Emerson degree, $350,000 in student loan debt, and being a Starbucks barista.
What is it about running a business, even a boring business, what you'd call a sweaty startup? Like, what is it about that is still so satisfying to do well?
There's no better feeling than getting done with a day's productive work outside with your hands in your business, and getting done and coming home and getting out of the shower and cracking open a Miller Lite. Like, it just feels satisfying to get some real work done. I learned that feeling very early because, man, I was trading my time for money for my first 10 years as an entrepreneur. And I'm thankful for that. I
read a book recently called Full Time. Have you heard of this, Nick? Full Time? So a $7 billion fund manager wrote this book. And the whole premise of the book is work is inherently valuable on the surface. It's not this idea that I'm going to have to work now so that I don't have to work later. It's that we were created to create and serve others. And so there's just satisfaction in the work itself, whether you're mowing yards or cleaning out porta potties, or you're a fund manager, blue collar, white collar, whatever. There's just satisfaction there.
Yeah.
David Banson wrote it. I'm gonna pick that up. And I think, you look back through history, and even 200 years ago, people spent 12 hours every single day, until wintertime came, when there was only about 8 or 10 hours of daylight. They spent it working. Like, they worked all the freaking time. And they found joy in it and satisfaction in it. And statistically, they were just as happy as we are today.
Yep.
Right. And healthy too. And healthy. I've been looking a lot about with Tisby as well. We're looking at different angles of what we can go with it. And just the amount of mobility that people have lost because we're not working or moving. And
a little bit of mobility exercises before bed is the most valuable thing you can do if you want to look good, feel good, and move when you're 80.
That's right.
I want to do those things.
That's right. I saw a post about somebody talking about, like, train your body now. Like, if you're if you want to be healthy and move and be mobile when you're 70, make sure you're that way at 40, right? If you're going to go get he looks at it. I don't even know who this was. I saw it on Twitter, but the whole thought of somebody going to get a shoulder surgery, and then they're going to be in a sling for 8 weeks, right? He's like, well, the 8 weeks leading up to it, build those muscles up around that joint, right? Then you can take the sling off in 24 hours. That kind of idea of, like, you can build your muscles so your joints don't have that much of a problem. Anyway, not to go off on a whole health kick thing, but.
And I think I was listening to your episode on the Mossmo Show this morning on the way to work, and you were talking about you at 80 years old, and you made the comment that you want to be able to get on the floor with your grandkids, and you painted this picture of, like, generations of your family on Christmas Eve running around, enjoying each other, the kids wrecking the house, you just watching it all with a big smile on your face, probably running after them, not to stop them, but to chase them, And when we were putting together the idea of Hearthstone Capital, a very similar picture was in my mind. Like I had this idea of, the cabin in the woods with a fireplace, with generations of my family sitting around, and creating the kind of life where we had the freedom to be together in the way that we wanted to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how can we create a business that will lead to that future, so that not only can those of us that are part of Hearthstone Capital enjoy that kind of thing, but our investors can enjoy that kind of freedom as well, and just the impact that we can have on generational legacies of the people that are connected. And man, when you were talking about that with Rod, I was like, man, that's exactly the picture that I was thinking.
Another beef I have with entrepreneurship culture today is that everybody wants it all right now.
Yeah.
It's overnight. It's everybody wants that overnight success. They read those stories of, Mark Zuckerberg from dorm room to $1 billion in 3.5 years or whatever it was. And it's not even a 5-year game. It's a 200-year game. Like my great grandparents came over here from Germany, and they worked hourly jobs so that their kids could go to high school. And then they worked hourly jobs so that their kids could go to college, and they worked hourly jobs so that their kids could go to, medical school or law school. I don't have any doctors in my family, but that's how it works, right? As people just build and step on the shoulders of the people before them. And yeah, and all I can do is my part. What can I control? I can control, my business opportunity, my financials, endeavors. I can control my health. I can control my mobility, my relationships, my spirituality. And those are the gardens that all need my water and my time. And yeah, my North Star is sitting in that leather chair, having walked 18 holes, carried my bag for 18 holes that week when I'm 80 years old, and kids and grandkids everywhere. And, that's what it's all about for me.
Yeah, that's great. Where do you think like this whole culture on, like, you're right. There are people that put entrepreneur. It's so cool and flashy. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And there are so many kids that don't even understand what that means. Where, of course, social media is a big part of that and what people post, but where do you think that how that has bled so much here in this culture?
I think it's the underdog stories that get the articles and the attention, and it's no different in sports. Like Sports Center shows the teams that come back, the underdogs that win. The movies about Rudy up in Notre Dame, coming back and winning the game against all odds, and the gladiator, winning the battle against all odds, and it's all about these dramatic stories that you hear about and you read about of the MLB player who was in the minors for 10 years, not able to pay his rent, and then all of a sudden he's an all-star, or the golfer like Eric Cole, who wasn't even making rent for 10 years, and all of a sudden he's a top 50 in America. You hear those stories, so everybody thinks that that's what you need to do. When the real stories of success and wealth are all around you for people who just did consistent, common things well for a really long time.
Right.
So, yeah, it takes a little bit of reset there, and unfortunately it's very culturally, like the wealthy families and the people who know how to build wealth and businesses over time, they pass these things down to their kids around the dinner tables and around making them clean storage units and mow lawns and throw papers, and teaching them how to work first, and then teach them how to make decisions second, and teaching them how to be good humans along the way, and then teaching them how to steward capital after that. It's a process, right? And unfortunately, we're in a world where over 50% of people don't have any money at all.
Yep.
Right.
And another 70%, or I guess 70% of all people, in my opinion, are fairly incompetent, and they can't make good decisions for their own life, let alone entrepreneurship and other businesses. So yeah, it's delayed gratification is a lost art, and everybody wants it all right now.
Yep.
And so they maximize pleasure today, and that really hurts them in the long run.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And their wealth.
Yeah, totally agree. I'm so grateful for our parents who taught us so well when it comes to that.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, but like, as I look at the 6 of us, and Nick, there's 6 of us kids. I'm the oldest. Timmy's number 4. We're 10 years apart. But you look at any of us, and we're workers. Like, all of us are workers. Nobody's needing a handout or a hand up. Everybody's a worker.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with how we were raised. Like, mom and dad taught us to work.
Right.
And the value of it and the importance of it. And I'm so grateful for that. Have you heard Have you ever heard of the book called Pitch Anything by a guy named Orrin Claff? Have you, Nick?
Yeah, I have. One of my favorite sales books is by Orrin Claff, Flip the Script.
Yeah.
That's how I build a lot of my sales frameworks. But
when I was reading your book over the weekend, you were talking about how you pitch investors, and it made me think of Pitch Anything, and you flip the frame on them. And I wonder if you'd share with us a little bit how you, like, because a lot of times you can imagine you're trying to get somebody to invest in your deal, like you want them to say yes,
right?
Like they have something that you want, and that's their capital. Like you really need it to move forward, and that can put you in a place of desperation where they're the prize and you're trying to get it.
Right.
All right.
Right. But
the opposite's also true. Like I've got a great opportunity that can really help them out, and in that sense, I'm the prize, and they need it.
Right.
And so if you flip the script there, or flip the frame, you can. And in Nick's book, he was
you can eliminate some of that desperation.
Yeah, but share with us a little bit how you do that, because I thought that was really interesting.
I think there's a huge missing element in sales interactions today, which is building trust. How do you build trust with somebody if they're trying to pay you to remodel a home? How do you build trust with somebody when you're trying to broker a deal with them to provide services? How do you build trust with somebody who's about to loan you money? My method is to show them that I am worried about the things that could go wrong. I'm worried about them. I'm thinking about them. So when I'm sitting with investors on a call, of course I'll talk about our firm, and of course I'll talk about all the good work we've done and our track record and how we manage and why storage is great. But then I'll kind of flip the script and I'll talk about the risks. Hey, Bo, like it's 2022. We've been on an epic, run of real estate here. What if we buy this deal and interest rates go from 3.75% to 7.5% over the next 3 years? That's totally out of my control. It's totally out of your control. We're not going to hit projections. We're going to be stuck together. We want to hold this deal for 5 years. We're going to be stuck for 10 years or longer potentially. It's my job to make sure we don't lose this building. Here's what I'm worried about and why. But like real estate's very, very dependent on something that we have no control over.
Mm-hmm.
What makes you think that this is a good deal? Or like why are you still interested in storage today, right now? And then I shut up.
It's so interesting.
That's so good. That's
hearing
great.
you say that, because I
happened.
just read this, and I know the rest of the story is, and he'll tell us in a second, but I'm wanting to do that right now. I'm wanting to jump in and tell you why it is a good deal.
Yeah.
So when you do that and you shut up and you can and you stop talking, which most people can't do. It's very hard.
Yep.
First of all, I think people should record their sales interactions and listen to them, because professionals watch game tape all the time, but no business professional listens to themselves and critiques themselves. But what ends up happening is the person starts to sell themselves if they're the right fit. Of course, many of them will get scared, be like, oh yeah, I hadn't actually thought of all that. And maybe this isn't for me because I don't want to tie this money up for 10 years. So I'm kind of vetting and I'm kind of disqualifying people who, hey, if our circles don't overlap, we're not going to make this deal happen. But if they want to do the deal, they will spend the next 3-5 minutes of the call. It's crazy. The dynamics have totally shifted, and they start to sell themselves on why they want to make the investment, why they're long-term holders, why they don't care about near-term performance, which also just removes stress and makes us a match made in heaven, because we want to hold these properties for a really long time as well. Very, very interesting dynamic.
Yeah. Love it. I've got a question from out of the ballpark, because I think it'd be interesting. I just want to hear your take on this, Nick. What do you think? You know Gary Vaynerchuk?
Oh yeah.
What's wrong with his messaging?
I like it. His way of building trust is to add value, to teach somebody something,
right?
Make them better. I don't know. What's your?
I like him too. But when you were talking about, like, when we were talking at the beginning about chasing your heart or follow your passion or stuff, a lot of his messaging sounds like that.
Oh yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I was just curious. I spent, there's like 2 years of my life there, like 5 years ago. Bo brought him up. You're like, you might be interested in this guy. And I just watched all of his stuff for about 2 years. And And so, I was just curious.
I love his push towards relentless work ethic, but I also I don't think that the average human being needs to spend 7 hours a day scrolling and replying on Instagram and trying to build their Instagram following.
Right.
Get out and operate and run companies and manage and hire somebody and learn to delegate and learn to sell.
Right.
Those are more practical, skills, in my opinion.
I think his point with that is if you're trying to build a following online. So I think it's like if you got a passion for Smurfs, right? You could build a business around that by creating a podcast or content that's all about Smurfs, and you're giving value to all the people that love Smurfs because that's what you offer. Right. So it's kind of like building your own business. It doesn't have to be millions and millions of dollars, but you don't have to go get a day job. You work really hard to build this thing and really focus on that one message that you love so much. And so I think it's in the context of if that's what you're trying to do or want to do, then replying all the time is to, get that follower count up. But
relentless dedication to, like, I have a unique perspective there. I think as an entrepreneur, you kind of work in waves. I don't know if you guys feel this, but I feel like I'm hunting and sometimes I'm just sitting.
Yeah.
Like as an entrepreneur, sometimes you need to step back. Like more work on your business or in your business is not going to help you sometimes. Other times, an opportunity, a gazelle's out in that field and you got to chase it and you got to go after it and you got to lay down 80-hour weeks for a month or 2 months or half a year or whatever it might be. But I think that entrepreneurship can be done at a very high level when you still go play golf and you still hang out with your kids and you still travel and hunt and fish and mountain bike or do whatever it is you might want to do. So I don't have a ton in common. My message doesn't have a ton in common for people who work 70 hours a week their entire lives.
Right.
I've never thought of it in terms of waves, but just looking back over the course of my marriage, there's been times where I've just worked too much.
Right.
I like it. I love what I do, and there's always something else to do. And so I would, and I remember at one point Autumn actually, basically looked at me and was like, "Do you still love me?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" A big wake-up call for me. So now, sometimes I'll go into a season where I can tell, like, I'm going to have to work more.
Yeah.
Like there's an opportunity here. We're going to try to take advantage of it. It's going to take more hours to do.
Right.
And I'll give her a heads up. We'll just kind of work it. Like, look, this is a season. This will be a defined amount of time. I'm going to need to stay later. And so we have those conversations. I just kind of give her heads because I want her to know I absolutely still love her. This is not a reflection of how I feel about her in any way, but it does. If I look back,
working 60, 70 hours a week warps your perception of the world around you. It warps what you think is your relationship with your wife, your kids, and you can think that they're awesome, but it's because you're spending 70 hours a week doing something you love, going after an opportunity, working, and then you do. Yeah, I mean, I had a conversation because I'm in the middle of a sprint. Like I decided to write this book. I sold this book to HarperCollins, got my advance. 2 weeks later, the majority owner of somewhere.com called me and said, "Nick, I'm thinking about selling the majority of the company." That was the opportunity. I was the lion on the rock. I got after it. And this has been a year-long sprint to make that deal happen and set this company up for serious growth. I had to raise $20 million. I'm the controlling, owner of that business. My first big swing outside of real estate. But yeah, I was talking to my wife, like, hey, like this book is going to change our life. This company is going to change our life. And she goes, "Nick, our life's already changed. Like we're doing better than I ever could have imagined. We have more than I ever could have imagined. Like why do we need the next thing?" It was a discussion for the next couple weeks, talking about how, it was going to only be a certain amount of time and how it was, going to change, and it was just a wave. And overall it's been fine. But yeah, it's definitely a warped perception when you're really getting after it and you're riding one of those heavy waves.
Yeah, that's a good point. A huge part of your brand is now your presence on Twitter. When did you start that? Like, was there a moment where you realized, I can move the needle with this kind of post?
I'm a natural pick. Like I pick on people.
Yeah.
Not in a malicious way, but I love to goof off. I love to get people riled up. I'll tell them stories that aren't true and see if they believe it for 10 seconds. That's just who I am, and that's my sense of humor. Timmy, you might be the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see some overlap there.
Yeah.
But when I learned that there was this tool where I could be sitting on the toilet and I could type 80 or 90 or 120 characters, and somebody out in California and somebody down in Florida and somebody up in Canada was going to get so worked up that they were going to start to berate internet and just have a total loss of like logical what they're doing with their mind. And their
Right.
I couldn't help but jump in.
Yeah. So when you jumped in, was that there's a lot of people that start making content that aren't, it takes them a while to find their voice or actually, when you did start to do Twitter, was that what it was right off the bat? Or was there a moment where you're like, let's see what happens if I say what I really think? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I kind of like to say like, okay, what's the most extreme version of what I believe to be true? Let me tweet that. And then see what with no nuance, like act like there's no nuance, even though I'm a very nuanced person. I change my mind on a lot of things very often. It turned out that, me standing behind my ideas, which were strong opinions that were loosely held, it sparked amazing conversation. And the majority of rational humans can see through the snarky Twitter comments. Right. And the people who are not stable mentally can't, and that's fine. Like they can unfollow me or block me if they want to. But I would do 1 out of 10 posts like that, and the other 9 out of 10 about how I live my life, how I maintain discipline, what I focus on, my business. I was radically open about my business. I was tweeting profit and loss statements and letter of intent screenshots and rent rolls and how we acquired deals and videos of me sawing off locks in Erie, Pennsylvania in the snowstorm. It's like I was radically open about what we were doing, and we were actually doing something real. So I think the false narrative around building a following on social media is that the following comes first. When in reality, all the most followed influential people on the internet have become world-class at something else, or they're at least putting themselves out there and doing something unique, something worth following.
Right.
So if I would have just came in and Nick Huber, I'm an entrepreneur, but I didn't do storage and I didn't buy other businesses and I wasn't actually out there in the game doing it, I would have, maybe 20,000 worthless followers who just think I'm kind of a funny, pick.
Right. Right.
So yeah, it was a combination of me writing really good copy, riling people up, and then me sharing, very real business experience that I'd been living in my day-to-day life.
Right. So, I mean, you are intentionally trying to stir things up, which I really appreciate. I think that's amazing. Even with the ones where you've cranked it up to 11 to stir things up, it's still what you truly believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Like I'll make a tweet that says I've never met a mentally stable person who has purple hair.
Right.
That makes a lot of people very angry.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Right.
But I actually I have not met somebody with purple hair who has functioning relationships and a functioning job and a functioning career. So, both things can be true, that it's hurtful and probably shouldn't say it. And that's Nick's real experience.
Have you ever tweeted something, watched it blow up and gone, maybe that was too much?
Yeah. I had second thoughts a lot of times. Yeah.
Have you ever deleted? Like, how many times have you deleted one?
Oh, not in a long time. My favorite now is just to tweet something that I know is going to get people riled up and just mute it and look at it 2 or 3 days later. That takes a very strong willpower to know that you're riling people up and you're not thinking about them at all.
Yeah. Oh, man. I love it.
Well, I think part of the reason that works for you is I couldn't do it that way.
No.
It's not me.
No.
And if I tried to do it, it wouldn't work because it wouldn't be real.
Right.
Right. And I think because you are a amplified version of who you actually are when you're interacting on Twitter, it works for you.
Yeah, I don't ever lie. I don't ever make points that I don't kind of at least partially agree with, right?
Yeah.
I'll just leave out a lot of nuance, even though I know the world is very nuanced and it's very difficult.
Right.
And there's obviously people with purple hair who are very competent and do very well in life. I just haven't met one, right?
Right.
It's a funny game that we play on X.
Well, speaking of games, here's a new segment that we're going to try with you called Defend That Tweet. So I've pulled about 6 tweets, some of the ones that stirred the most amount of controversy. And that we either agree with, were confused by, or had to read twice just to believe. And so, we're going in to defend this tweet. So here's one from October of 2020. Are you ready for this, Nick?
October 2020. Oh boy, I've changed my mind on a lot of things since
Sure.
then.
So you can defend it if you want, or be like, I've changed my mind on that.
Okay, let's do it.
So, okay, great. Unpopular opinion is a great start. Goal setting is way overrated. Anybody can set goals. It's easy, fun even. Nobody wants to do the work to achieve them. So, Nick, this take challenge is a fundamental principle of personal development. Can you elaborate on why you believe goal setting is overrated?
I was reading Atomic Habits by James Clear at the time of that tweet.
That's it.
Yeah. And he makes that point in a much less poke the bear kind of way. That's the main concept of his book, is that you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits.
Gotcha. So what is it that you do believe about goal setting? Where is the nuance?
I think goal setting is a natural practice. Everybody dreams big. Execution is where it's at 100% of the time.
Yeah.
So I stand by that tweet fully.
Yeah. All right, sweet. All right, number 2. I hope my kids don't. Oh, this is from September 2024, so not that long ago. I hope my kids don't go through a hip hop rap music phase. A few controversial things, I believe. I hope my kids don't go through a hip hop music phase like I did. That stuff is garbage for your brain. This tweet touches on personal preferences and cultural commentary. What led you to this perspective on hip hop and rap music? And do you think music choices significantly impact personal development?
I think human beings are mature enough to listen to music that says one thing and not live their life that way. Mm-hmm. I thought it was cool and I was listening to it, but luckily I did not at all live my life that way when I was 18. But yeah, it's not great what they talk about and what they celebrate in the hip hop culture, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true.
But the music's damn good and they're so talented that it's hard not to be a fan of a lot of it.
That's so true. I agree. That's very true. Okay, number 3. This one is I've got feelings on this one. HOA fees. This is from August 2024. HOA fees are great. They keep your neighbors from painting their house bright purple and parking a boat on the lawn. So, HOA often gets a bad rap. Yeah. What experience has shaped
I'm never buying a house that's not in an HOA again if I have neighbors that I can see.
Yeah. Okay. Say more.
Yeah, because unfortunately, people don't know how to keep up a neighborhood. And I think it looks like shit to have trampolines in the front yard and broken down cars and painting your house non-conforming colors. These are all no-brainers if you care about property value and you want to live in a nice neighborhood. Right. So the people who shit on HOAs are the ones that want to have a 6 foot tall grass and not mow it and have a science is real sign out front.
Sure.
It's not.
Talking about poking the bear. Yeah. Now, you do seem to have an issue with the color purple, I'm seeing. What is this thing with purple? It's the color of royalty, Do you have another?
I do.
Okay.
I do. This one is from August 2024. Nick Huber sparks controversy with his latest tweet. He believes that letting kids choose another meal when they don't like what's served can lead to entitlement.
Yeah. I think too many parents put their kids in a little bubble trying to protect them from every little bit of pain and uncomfort. And kids should grow by, a little bit of suffering is okay, in my opinion, as a parent.
I agree.
I love my kids. I'm going to give them every opportunity that I possibly can. I never scream at them, emotionally abuse them. I'm always very, I'd say, what do you call it? Even keel. Like they know what to expect from me. I'm very
stable.
But yeah, if I put food on the table and my kid doesn't want to eat it, then that's his prerogative. But he's not going to get chicken nuggets.
Right. Right. And so if your kid doesn't, how long did it take for them to realize that they're not eating if they don't eat that?
Look, they don't love every food, and if they want to leave some of it on a plate, I'm not one of these guys who's going to bang the table and not let them get up for hours. But no, they eat broccoli, they eat vegetables, they eat salmon, they eat potatoes. They don't eat chicken nuggets for every meal, and I'm pretty proud of that. As you know, with my 3, 5, and 7-year-old.
Yeah, you
That's
should
kind of impressive.
Yeah. I got a 7 and a 3-year-old as well. The 3-year-old actually last night ate all of her dinner, and we were blown away because she'll just flat out not eat it. And
it's crazy. We have friends whose kids eat really well, like too well. Like they're in the 90th percentile and they're just eating everything that they see. That's not in the Hubert genetics, unfortunately, man. So like my kids don't eat enough. And so I have to give them a spoonful of peanut butter and a glass of whole milk every night before bed just to try to put the calories in them because they want to play all day. They don't want to eat.
Yep. I can relate to that. Okay. I got one last one.
All right.
Okay. Nick, on July 11, 2022, you tweeted, obesity is 80% genetic. This statement stirred quite a bit of controversy or conversation. Could you delve into what prompted this tweet? And are you referencing specific studies or personal observations?
Yeah, my wife is a dietitian, and she spent 5 years prepping people for bariatric surgery at Tufts Medical Center in Boston, one of the best, dietetics programs in the country.
Right.
And she put people on these machines that took in oxygen, measured how much oxygen went in and how much CO2 went out, basically how much your body burned. Yeah. And it could tell your caloric burn at a resting state, how strong your metabolism was. And it's not as simple as calories in, calories out. She met 300-pound people who burned 1,200 calories a day. She met people who had starved themselves and still couldn't lose weight. And it's not as simple as people make it out to be, that it's calories in, calories out, and fat is lazy. It's not that simple at all. Look at genetics, and it's who people become, whether you like it or not. Look at the parents, and 90% certainty that's the physical makeup of the children when they're that age. It's just, I think genetics are a massive part of the world that everybody acts like aren't real. Right. And another hot take of mine is that when you date and when you're marrying, you should look very closely at the genetics of that family, mental health, with work ethic, with all these attributes that are important to you, because your spouse will become their parents. They will. Yeah. And if they don't, that's great. But I don't like to play those odds.
Yeah.
Dad used to say something like this. He's like, you want to see what your girlfriend will look like 50 years from now? Look at her mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember that scaring me a little bit based on some of the girls I used to date. And and then I remember, my wife now of 25 years, I remember, looking at her mom when we were dating and going, it was more data points for me that supported the idea that I might have a good one here.
Right.
Yeah.
My father-in-law says you plant corn, you get corn. Don't be surprised.
Yeah. That's right. Well, this is the last one, but with this, because how do you reconcile the viewpoint that obesity is 80% genetic with the broader discourse of personal responsibility and lifestyle choices? Yeah.
I mean, look, the way that people eat and the general culture in America and how they're poisoning our food and the testosterone, epidemic and all these other things that I'm very passionate about. Why the hell they putting fluoride in our water? Why are we getting hepatitis B vaccine 4 minutes after birth? Like all these things that I'm seeing, and also our processed foods and, all the oils. And I'm not smart enough to start talking about a lot of those things that are leading to obesity as a whole. But if your parents react one way to our environment, the odds are you are going to react the same way to our environment.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yep.
Yeah. So I don't hear him say that personal responsibility is not a thing.
No, I don't either.
He's saying the baseline is different based on your genetics.
Right. I can eat like crap. I can drink 4 nights a week. I can work out once a week, and I can stay very fit because my mom, my uncles, my grandfather, they're all thin as a rail. It's just our natural build.
Right.
Whereas a friend of mine who does the exact same lifestyle as me could be 300 pounds.
Right.
35-year-old.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
I didn't think we were going to talk about this today.
I know. I mean, me neither. But I found that very interesting. It got me thinking, 80% genetic. And, I was like, is that true? And then I did some research on it, and I was like, oh, there are some studies that say, 60 to 80%. And yeah,
there's a lot of, what you'll notice about my Twitter is there's a lot of true facts that I made up.
Right. No, I get that now. I understand it. And I was just so curious when talking to you, I almost knew right away. I was like, oh, this is all a part, like this is all on purpose.
Timmy was really excited. I went in there the other day and I was like, hey, I just want to give you a heads up. This guy we're about to have on, more than any other guest we've had, is kind of controversial. Like he's got haters, Yeah. And I think we ought to ask him about it. And Timmy's eyes lit up. He's like, oh.
I got real haters, and I'll say that everybody wants to have influence and everybody wants to have a following because of the career acceleration that had happened. Like my following accelerated my career 50 years or more because I was able to raise capital. I was able to grow somewhere. I was able to buy somewhere.com. But the dark side of that, I have been able to handle, but it has been very dark at times, very dark. And it's not the anonymous, mom's basement, World of Warcraft 42069. It's not those people on social media, the anonymous accounts that get me. It's sometimes like the respected members of our community that I rub the wrong way with one of my tweets, or they take it, I make a mistake and say something that I shouldn't say, or they take it a little bit out of context and take it very personally. Like I've done a lot of railing on doctors and lawyers on Twitter. And my dad called me like, Nick, you got to stop doing that. And I'm like, why? And he goes, because my best friends are doctors and lawyers, and we have lawyers in our family that, that we're marrying into. Like, you got to just start to think about what they might feel and how they might think about it when you write that tweet, even though it's true.
Right.
In my opinion is that, hey, I don't know anybody who'd want to be a doctor. You're 30 years old. You're still in residency. You're getting paid $60,000 a year to work 70 hours a week, doing half nights and half days. You can't start a family. You can't do anything until 3 years later. They're going to tell you where to move. They're going to bully you. And then you got to go see patient after patient after patient after patient for 10 years just to pay your student loans off.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who'd want that life. I'm glad people do it though. And yeah, I'm getting a little bit less brash on the internet as my time goes on.
Yeah.
I often ask people who have written books like, why on earth did you write a book? But after reading your book, I understand why you wrote a book. And I think it's important that you wrote this book. It's countercultural. It's applicable. I want my kids to read it. If they have any entrepreneurial bent at all. I've got a son right now who's 22. He just graduated high school, and he's been shadowing some of my buddies in their commercial real estate companies in Kentucky and in Texas and in some other places. He's also interviewing with Enterprise. And the thing I'm trying to help guide him through is, there's two economies here. You can be in the time and effort economy. You can opt for stability and cap your earning potential, but go for the stability there. Most people belong. They absolutely belong in that space. And then there's the results economy where entrepreneurs live. And the people that need to be in that space are the people that would die on the vine if they weren't in it. Everybody doesn't need to be an entrepreneur. And you make that point in the book. And you also make, I think, entrepreneurialism. Is that the word?
Entrepreneurs?
We'll just roll with that. You make it accessible to so many because that narrative you talk about it, like the $1 billion startup kind of thing, like that seems so unattainable, but being great at running a lawn care business and making hundreds of thousands a year, or like, buddy, man, in the next 20 years, the trades, you own a plumbing company, you can be a millionaire. And you got to really be bad at it to not be. And there's such opportunity there, but it's not glamorous. It's not easy. And your book makes that point. And I really appreciate the fact that you wrote it. And I would encourage our listeners to go get a copy of it. I listened to it on Audible. I got to hear Nick. I love it when the author actually reads the book.
Yeah.
I get to hear your words out of your mouth with the correct inflection and all that. It It was a great experience. So I appreciate you writing the book.
Thanks, Bo. Yeah, it's called The Sweaty Startup. It's available, on Audible. Most people buy it on Audible, but Amazon too. But yeah, it's the book I wish I had in my hands when I was just getting started on this journey. Learned a lot the hard way, and I think every entrepreneur will learn a lot the hard way. There's no book that's going to make it easy.
Completely agree.
But it's worth it. It's a worthwhile journey.
I can't wait to read it.
Yeah.
Let our audience know where they can follow you.
So you can email me, nick@sweatystartup.com. Follow me on X @sweatystartup. If you kind of want to dip your toe in without buying the book, the most popular page on my website is a website with 200 plus business ideas that are sweaty startups. And you can go to sweatystartup.com/ideas, and you can kind of check that out and look and dip your toe into what a sweaty startup really is. But yeah, I really appreciate y'all having me on. And if you want to do another one and talk, real estate, private equity, or operations, I'm actually really involved in bolt storage today. And I think it's a great time to be a real estate entrepreneur because there's frankly a lot less of us around than there was 3 years ago.
Oh, I guess we should have talked about that a little bit, huh?
Well,
yeah, we'll have you back.
Yeah, we'll have you back, and we'll get into all that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, man, and
Thanks,
for coming
Nick.
on. And we've been looking forward to this one. It was a great episode.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Let's get together when I'm in Indiana next. I'm right around the corner from you guys.
Sounds great, man.
Let's go. Let's
All
go.
right.
You have to come
Talk to
here,
you
though.
guys.
We're not going to Indiana.
That's not true. That's not true.
All right. See you, Nick.
Thanks, Nick.
See ya.
That could have easily been a 3-hour episode.
I know.
And I'm not trying to pimp a book because the author was on. It was good.
Yeah.
It really was good. It solidified a lot of things in my mind. It helped me clarify my thinking. It gave me some ideas. It reminded me that there's just value in work.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have the sexy thing, the shiny thing, the huge idea. You can just do, as he put, and I love this phrase, common things uncommonly well.
Mm-hmm.
And there's opportunity there. And we live in a culture where people don't want to work hard. Show up on time, work hard, you've already got an advantage.
Right.
Pick the industry where you can get a competitive advantage quickly, where you're dealing with people that are maybe not the most sophisticated, and you increase your odds of success. And he gets real tactical in the book as well, like how to hire, how to delegate, how to sell. He gets into the weeds, tactically speaking, on all that stuff, and it's good. It's better than I thought it would be.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I got so excited when I went, you told me he's got some haters on Twitter, and I was like, oh, let's see, and then seeing his tweets as well. I think whenever, like, I really appreciate his take on, it's needed, that lens on entrepreneurship and really a solid way to live that's got lost in our culture. Thanks for watching. If you have not subscribed on YouTube, please do leave us a comment, share, give us a review on Apple Podcasts. That helps us out a great deal. If you want to subscribe to our newsletter, you can do that at subscribe.wgbaron.com. And if you want to get a virtual assistant like Alice, which we love so very, very much, you can go to superpowershq.com/commercially speaking. For those in the back, superpowershq.com/commercially speaking. Anything else that we're forgetting?
No, I think that's it.
All right. I love you, brother.
Love you, man.
Bye, Alice.
Bye, Alice.
All right.
Still here.
Still here.
Oh my God.
Alice, you can go about your day if you would like.
Oh, good. Bye.
All right. Before we turn anything off, I want to show you something.
Okay.
We've told this story on the podcast before, how there's something that you did when I was around 8. I think you're 18, maybe 8, 9, or 10, 18, that really introduced me to the world of comedy. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think I know what you're referencing.
Yes. So I saw this 2 days ago, and it made me tear up a bit.
Oh, I think I know what you're about to show me.
Yeah.
But let's see.
Okay. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Make me happy.
Okay, here we go.
My name is Happy
That's
Gilmore.
right, baby.
30 years ago, I decided to give golf a try. But even when you're at the top of your game,
I love it already.
you can always shank one.
Happy Gilmore sucks?
Oh, eat a bag!
How are you going to put Vienna through ballet school? It's $75,000 a year. That's 4 years. That's 333 grand.
That's terrible math, Johnny. It's 300 grand.
That's John Daly.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know where to start.
Real life Happy
See the
Gilmore.
happy I fell in love with.
Come on, you gotta do it, Dad.
All right, let's go. Let's go get it, Dad. Not about the jigs.
I know how to do it, Dad. Let's go.
I still got the picture of his grandma.
What the hell is happening?
All of his sons.
Happy Gilmore is breaking in yet another caddy he just met.
All right, we're gonna go.
Fishy Pippa?
But you bring those. Those always come. All right, that's it. They got a strap if you want to use the strap.
Happy Gilmore didn't have things flowing on the first
Awesome.
hole.
Kevin Nealon.
You got the name tag, grandson. You're in my world now.
I got you a little something there, Pop.
I thought he died.
Everyone is talking about a comeback kid.
Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore. Happy Gilmore.
You've been watching me play, Mr. Gilmore. So inspiring.
My dad loved you, man.
Huel.
I am so sorry.
I got some Gorilla Glue.
Remember the happy place I went to? You go to yours.
Oh my God, Rory!
Oh my God, Rory.
You stole my life from me. Why would I want to steal the life of somebody who eats pieces of shit for breakfast?
How many Easter eggs and callbacks can you fit into one trailer?
Dude, man. Adam Sandler.
Netflix?
Yeah.
All right, July 25th.
Yes.
When do you get back from Ireland?
We'll be back July 11th.
Okay,
Yeah.
July 25th.
Yes.
The Bourbon Room.
Yes. Yes, we're
It's
watching
on.
that. We're watching that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Bo showed me Happy Gilmore when I was 8. I told him I wasn't allowed to watch it. I was sick home from school, and he's like, no, you got to watch this. And Bo introduced me to comedy. And that's what I do for a living now. So, yeah, love it.
Sorry, Mom.
Yeah.